constantly being assaulted with, things that are intended to wow us. And I would argue that's true in architecture as well. There are a lot of buildings, particularly in the cultural arena, that are trying to be built for the purpose of being to be just different, to be a differentiator. But one wonders over time whether these buildings will fade from the public imagination as their usefulness or actually how they function as what they were designed to do becomes apparent that it was not successful.
Well, I think there's an interesting scalar response in the way that you might accept a certain kind of wildness immediately and without thinking about the long term with a smaller product than you would with building. But when buildings started to become product design, it was like learning from product design or trying to compete. It started to raise that question even more. So we may at the same time accept a certain kind of wellness in temporary, short-term experiences. Hotel rooms have become a very interesting study that way, and as a result, have pushed the boundaries for people, or push people in their own private worlds to reconsider different things. They were willing to accept a funky looking room for a night, but that may have actually introduced them to a value system they might not have thought of had they sat down to commission their own house and said, well, that seems a little weird. And so these temporary, short-term, smaller scale experiences are actually very valuable for helping transformation of needs or for developing new needs in things where we see a longer-term commitment to a larger scale event.
So the question about the aesthetic wow was put out to us earlier. And it's actually something that troubles me a little bit in our work. We never begin with the aesthetic. It's always about how will it perform. What is the experience? A lot of our work is really kind of experience-based, which is getting at a wow from a different standpoint. It's talking about space and ritual and how ritual can be embedded in a room, and how it can actually change your perception of reality. And so starting with an aesthetic wow, a kind of lure, is a little bit like overly sweet cake, with too much frosting or something. And so I'm not sure, for me, it's not like a great way to get at this, at the question of the hierarchy of needs. But getting back to this question of values, so I wonder whether, Peter, whether your work really does exist, or when you're going through a design process, are you really ticking off the hierarchy of needs? Meaning, you start working, and you're like, okay, we've met the minimum functional, but we're not thinking about identity, and we're not thinking about, the highest possible design level that could be in a museum. We're going to wait on that until all the way till we get to the top, and then we'll think about it. And I don't think that you work that way. And when you're talking about the values of durability and quality and Swissness, I think those are simultaneous conditions. They all must be met, not just one and then the next and then the next. It's all considered together and is brought forward.
If it feels relevant to discuss it in the context, I feel like that light bulb that you showed us is clearly struck. I mean, judging from the gasp in the room and the 3-year wait list, I feel like that would be, I'd be curious to hear how that, like you using that as an example to answer the question. That's right.
Well, my company is called Process Design. And why process design? It's already, in the company name already tells you how we work. I think every project goes through a certain procedure. And when you have, for example, a company like Philips, which was or still is the benchmark for LED lighting. Then if you look at the Philips bulb, it looks like Robocop, or it's not really something which you would say, that really attracts you in somehow. That's pure function. And with all these cooling ribs and everything that they have because of the functionality, we thought about, okay, if we really want to do something for this company, we really need to see creating a totally new icon of a product which attracts you, even if you don't know what it is. You will see it's a totally new technology, but it will tell you it's about. So, that hole in the middle, if you're interested to listen to me. So that hole in the middle, it's not just pure design. We found out, that we wanted to have a certain cooling. If someone in here knows a little bit about LEDs are very difficult. LEDs are great, but they are dying immediately if they get too hot. So you need to cool them down. So, and how can you do that? You can actually make ribs, or you have there are other ones, they're using liquid and stuff like that. So we tried, from the engineering standpoint, we tried almost half a year to find a solution which we can get rid of this ugly functionality. And by doing the same thing as Philips does, we said, okay, we try to be totally different. We need to come out with something different. But we didn't give up until we found this hole. And this hole is actually doing the whole thing naturally. This is a coated aluminum piece where you have flex screens with the LEDs on both sides. Actually, it's very simple. But it's so easily for manufacturing, and it's very effective because the heat, the air transmits through this hole and absorbs the heat to the outside. So the lifetime is guaranteed for 15 years. And even on those with the ugly ribs from Philips, you don't have this, And so this really shows you a little bit with one piece, how the procedure goes. So it was not, to design something which is clearly already defined, how it needs to be looked like from the functionality. You go all the way back and you try to figure out, how can you do it differently. And this, yes.
Well, I'm curious actually if creating an iconic design or something kind of, that would be instantly recognizable or something new to the market, was that something part of your mind all along?
Yes, and
why?
No one of our clients, not even Laufen, is willing to pay for half a year of development. Okay, but we do that because we believe that good things need time, and good things need to be developed and tested and withdraw and do it again. So I'm quite a terrible boss because I tell all my designers, to destroy everything what they did the day before, just to get, the guys knowing that there is always something better, and there's always a new solution, and we need to work in teams, and there are teams in Asia and in Europe, they compete on the same projects. So it's always a competition, even if we work for European or for Asian customers. And we have a certain timeline when we then come up with them. That's always interesting to watch.
I have a question. Listening, Peter, to you talk about the process, it seems to me, and I'd be interested just to hear, the architectural process, the criteria for industrial design, the criteria to evaluate success is, I think, more easily defined for the product. I think with architecture, the criteria, there are certain criteria which are obvious, but there are a lot of criteria which are not obvious, and it becomes, it suggests a different kind of design process. And I'll take that even one step further, which is to say, in my practice, which also incorporates interior design, where I feel like the visual delight is in fact the goal. That is in fact the need that you're trying to fulfill, which has really been interesting for me as an architect, because I've approached architecture in a more of a sort of a product design way. And it's actually the interior designers who work for me who have introduced me to this notion that actually they're dealing with the spaces with a completely different set of criteria. I'm just wondering, so just within the field of design, from industrial design, let's say, through to interior design, the criteria are just so, they range so broad.
Sure. But one of the criteria, one of the things that's different is industrial design is really a market condition where they have to sell product, as opposed to a commission, which is true with development, but not so much with an individual company, person, organization commissioning individual project, architectural project. So the criteria is that if the marketplace is one of the first places that the product is tested out in terms of success financially. The history of any art and architecture there's always detractors. Eiffel Tower was hated when it was built. American Tower was hated when it was built. And then the time tested, those become icons in their own way. And not all of them, but some of them. And so, but the length of time that architecture has to stand up to is much bigger and broader than product design. And I think one of the reasons that some of us the architects are fascinated with Peter's work is that it is the scale and time frame for his work, and also that he's not designing for an individual client per se, other than the companies that he's working for, is a very, very different type of experience. So that's why he's getting all these questions from us. It's quite interesting to evaluate the set of needs, especially when we all know there are products that have created needs for us. To have that and developing these needs and desires, or you want to parse need and desire. But it's sort of a fascination when you're not looking for an individual client per se.
One thinks about products that didn't. I'm wondering, in hearing what you were talking about, I'm wondering about the products. You build a building, as you say. It usually is there long enough to determine whether there's interest or affection for it, or whether it can be reused or stand the test of time. If you imagine how many products were launched too early or not long enough, the market rejected them, but had they been the Eiffel Tower or something, they might have actually been embraced by the world in a way that some buildings have taken decades really to be.
We're talking about the Newton.
Yeah.
The Newton, which is the precursor of that. The Newton, which was the precursor, the way precursor of the iPhone, but it was as big as that laptop almost, and hard to put in your pocket, and it was ahead of its time. And it was groundbreaking for what it did, but it's I think you can buy them for 50 cents each.
On that note, I think it's time to open it up to questions from the audience. We have about 10 minutes or so. People have things they'd like to ask the panelists here? Yeah? So actually, I guess I need to get the mic.
Hi, I'm Anna Arbut. Thank you. It's very interesting. I have a question for everybody. Do you think that good design should be a basic human right? And the reason I ask this is we're talking about the hierarchy of needs, and in my field, I find that we're always basically giving poor people something that's semi-functional, and we don't care about how it looks or how the emotional impact is. We just say all they need is, 800 lumens so that they can do their homework at night. But we don't even assume that they have a right to a good design. And so do you think that that should be a basic human right? And what can be done to make that happen?
I'll take a stab at that. I like the nature of the question. one of the things that we decided to do in my practice, at the risk of actually alienating